If you wanted glitz and glamour from Texans free agency, day one disappointed you, but day two thrilled. Let's break it down. Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. Let's talk about day two of Texans free agency, which started with a running back and ended with one of the best pass rushers in football showing up on the Houston Texans. My goodness, did Nick Caserio go out there looking for revenge for anybody and everybody who doubted him in day one of free agency, sticking to his plan, sticking to his guns in day one, not overpaying for various players at certain positions, and then having the ability to go out there and take a huge swing with the addition of Denil Hunter at defensive end to end the day, the addition of Joe Mixon via a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals to start the day. Three big takeaways from the day. You know what the first two are going to be, and you certainly better know what the first big takeaway is. Denil Hunter, as someone in the YouTube live named him, the Morton Ranch Monster, Katy, Texas finest. Denil Hunter coming back home, and it's a big-time investment for a big-time player. The money up to $51 million over 2 years. If he makes the Pro Bowl, he gets all of that, but he's getting at least $48 million over the next two in guaranteed money. I'm not worried about the financial commitment of the 2-year deal. I'm not worried about the length of the 2-year deal. I'm worried for opposing quarterbacks who have to go against Denil Hunter and Will Anderson along this defensive line. Hunter was 5th in sacks in the NFL last year. He was tied for the league lead in tackles for a loss. Seasons when he's been healthy and played the whole year, he's had double-digit sacks every year except for one. This guy is a big-time player, a bona fide stud at the defensive end position, an upgrade over the player opposite Will Anderson last year in Jonathan Grenard. Hunter is a home run signing by Nick Caserio. And the patience that he had to showcase to get this. Hunter's one of the biggest names on the market, one of the best free agents out there. He could have jumped and maybe paid way more than this in the first day. He could have jumped at Saquon Barkley or some of these other players the Texans were connected to and then not had the money for Denil Hunter. But Caserio was patient. He stuck to his assessment and the team's assessment of how much these guys were worth, and he figured out a way to snag one of the best players in free agency and have him play opposite Will Anderson on the defensive line. And in addition to bringing in Denil Hunter, that moves a player that they signed in the first day in Denico Autry down the depth chart and makes that position an upgrade from last year. The third most snaps at defensive end last year for the Texans was Jerry Hughes. Denico Autry shows up a couple of years younger and more productive than Jerry Hughes. Denil Hunter shows up. He's older than Jonathan Grenard, but he's more consistent and more productive than Jonathan Grenard. So that's two upgrades. You add that on top of the upgrade at linebacker that they made over Blake Cashman by signing Azeez Al-Shire, and the Texans are really putting together a defense that, with a little bit of luck when it comes to health in the secondary, is a potential top 5 defense in all of football. That's the potential that this defense has. They are a potential top 5 defense if they can get some good luck with health in the secondary. A full season of Derek Stingley, a healthy Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie, Eric Murray. Jeff Okudah needs to play pretty well. This is a potential top 5 defense. It's one of potentially the best defensive lines in all of football. Yeah, they still need a starter next to Malik Collins, probably. There's a little bit of money to play around with. And, oh, by the way, there's still a draft to get to here this offseason. But Denil Hunter, the big takeaway, a big swing, a home run for Nick Caserio, getting one of the best players in free agency, one of the best pass rushers in football, and pairing him with Will Anderson. My goodness, the destruction that they are going to wreak on opposing offenses and opposing offensive lines and those poor quarterbacks. When Hunter and Anderson meet at the quarterback for a sack lunch, nom, 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 nom. It's going to be delicious. Delicious. Big takeaway number 2. Joe Mixon is the running back one for the Houston Texans, a really productive player that shows up. He's old in running back years, but he is still a solid player. He was 8th in rushing yards last year, 5th in carries on the ground. The Cincinnati Bengals trusted him a bunch. He made a little bit too much money for the Bengals. They decided to opt for Zach Moss. They traded the Texans to Joe Mixon. I don't think it's any small thing that the Texans went out there and made sure Mixon shows up on the current contract. It's only 1 year left on the deal, but it's significantly cheaper than if Mixon hits the open market and other teams bid on him. He would have been my third, maybe fourth running back amongst free agent running backs. I would have put Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs ahead of him, but he would have been third, likely ahead of Derrick Henry, or right below Derrick Henry. So he would have been one of the top running backs available in free agency if he had been a free agent. Well, he's not a free agent. The Texans traded for him. He's running back one for this team. Can catch the ball a little bit, certainly can run the ball, has had a multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He had 12 touchdowns last year, over 1,400 all-purpose yards from scrimmage for Mixon. He's a really nice player. He's an upgrade over Devin Singletary, who was the lead back for the team last year. Now, I would have done just about anything to have Joe Mixon and Devin Singletary as the running back group. There's probably some additions that need to happen to the running back room. It still right now is just Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce as the two running backs for this team that played in the regular season last year. You could stand to add maybe another veteran and then spend a draft pick on a rookie and just kind of have those three guys fight it out for the depth chart behind Joe Mixon. But this Texans team that was 23rd in rushing yards last year, that was 29th in yards per carry, gets a big-time productive running back for the 2024 season. Sure, they got to figure out things beyond 2024, but we were worried about the 2024 season, and the Texans took care of business getting that 2024 running back in Joe Mixon. The third big takeaway from this one is the Houston Texans are officially Super Bowl contenders. The Denil Hunter move, filling out the rest of the team with some of the other moves, getting Joe Mixon, who's an experienced player, has got playoff experience, and a draft still to come. The Houston Texans are ready to take it to the AFC, hopefully play in their first AFC championship game, and then hopefully play in their first Super Bowl. I'm not sitting here telling you in the middle of March that they're winning the Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying. But they should absolutely be considered by anybody and everybody as a team that is a Super Bowl contender. They're going to have a really good defense, maybe one of the best defenses in football. You have to imagine that C.J. Stroud and the offense is going to be much better, not only from just Stroud's development, but hopefully having a much better rushing attack, some luck with health on the offensive line. That should be even better. And you start to have the makings of a team that, yes, they're going to have goals ahead of hoisting a Lombardi, but they should absolutely have hoisting a Lombardi as a realistic goal on their 2024 vision board. People still do those, right? They still do vision boards. The Texans are absolutely Super Bowl contenders. You look at the class of the AFC. The Baltimore Ravens were right there with the Texans at halftime. Texans were 30 minutes away from playing in their first ever AFC championship game. Now, Baltimore took care of business there in the second half. The Texans have gone about closing the gap on those top teams in the AFC and on those top teams in the NFL. They are going to be one of those teams in the upcoming season. Super Bowl contenders for sure. Now, what's left in free agency? What's next? Well, you can find that at Houston Football, where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans. www.houfootball.com. The link is in the description down below. You get signed up. It's just $7 a month for paid subscriber access. There's always some sort of free content on the site. Paid subscribers get anything and everything at just $7 a month. If you sign up for a whole year, I'll give you 2 months for free. I will make it worth your time. I do intense, detailed breakdowns of games, players, draft picks, insider access. You can find it all at Houston Football. And most notably, what's next in free agency? Where could they go? Some of those moves, you can find it at Houston Football. The three big takeaways, Denil Hunter. Oh, man, What a signing. One of the biggest signings in the history of this franchise and the best signing in Nick Caserio's time as a general manager. That's fantastic. Joe Mixon quelled my fears about the running back room, and Nick Caserio can walk out to the carnival, get some funnel cake batter, deep fry some crow, and send it over to my address because I was worried maybe way too much about that running back spot. And number 3 on the big takeaways, Lombardi is the goal, and it's a realistic goal. The Super Bowl contending Houston Texans. Damn, doesn't that sound nice? Appreciate you watching the video. Throw me a thumbs up on it if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything like the big lives that we've done all week, the video content here. You don't want to miss anything. You can hit the little bell and turn on notifications so you always know when something's going on here on the channel. I appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait. I really mean this. I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon. Who knows what's next for Nick Caserio and this crew?